Hi Scorpio, it's Jenny here with your February Tarot horoscope. So we're just going to pull a single card from my Salvador Dali Tarot deck to see what's coming up for you for the month of February. So the first 2/3 of February is still, that's a good one, it's still Aquarius season, and then towards the end we're going to be rolling into Pisces season. So we're going to see what's coming up for you. And it looks like you got the Fool card in reverse, which is actually correspondent to Scorpio anyway. So way to go. So here we go was what he looks like the right way up. So we have this man here. He's kind of in like a pilgrim supplicant pose on his donkey. And there's just all these butterflies kind of covering him. And then behind we have this sort of sketchily drawn figure with this big kind of staff or crutch across the way there. And it came out upside down like that. So it's gonna, reach for my book here and see what the Fool has to say. Okay, the Fool. The 0 as role model. 0, or the missing number, stands for nothing. It warns you against living a meaningless life. Seen from another angle, the 0 point defines your personal starting point, the site of unity within yourself at the very core of your being. Like the initial point of a coordinate system, this card represents the beginning of everything that makes up an individual. To look into the future with courage implies charting your own course, not least when all role models have failed you and you are forced to act into the blue without any prior support. The more unusual your path, the more panic you will experience if you have to go down it. Pan in Greek means all, therefore panic means all at once. The more room you give the Fool in your life, the easier it will be to get used to accepting yourself, God, and the world as they are, as the supplicant saint in the picture demonstrates. In this way, everything you know takes on a special importance in your life when the time is right. Look at the shadowy figure by the wayside. It could represent your second self that you desperately need and long for. Do not take lightly the feeling that you are missing out on something. The fulfillment of these desires and the banishment of deep-seated fears are a priority. The Fool represents a state of unadulterated bliss. Practical advice. As a Fool, you are open to experiment and free to learn from all experience. You are entitled to lack answers and to change your point of view at will. Put your faith in your own originality and trust the world. Do not let others drive you crazy. It is foolish to concern yourself with things or events that cannot be appropriately judged at the present time. Okay, Fool card is an interesting one always whenever it comes up. It's this great invitation to just not know, not be great at things, be it this sort of naive starting point of your adventure in life or in a concept or in a certain journey, which in and of itself is often the end of the story, where I'm sort of thinking of the Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy starts out on a journey. At the very beginning, there's something that she's missing. She needs to find home, and she's told that somewhere way at the end of the Yellow Brick Road, she's going to find somebody who can tell her what's up. So she goes on this big adventure, and by the time she finally gets to the end, she's learned all of these things adjacently. She gets to her mission point, and at the end they say, well, actually, the very beginning of where you were, you had all the answers you needed. You had the ruby slippers. You could have gone at any time. What you really needed was already within yourself. So there's this sort of like I don't want to say trapped. It's more like the seed of the potential of great wisdom in the Fool. As the Fool keeps going for the journey, that seed that grows, it starts to, with the things that happen on the way, become this magnificent tree. And then the fruit of the tree is in fact the seed that was contained in the very beginning of it. So it's this Ouroboros, the Fool to the wise man who realizes they're the Fool, this 0 point. It's the starting point and the end point. It's this nothingness, where there's this really great opportunity, especially in culture, especially that is very much, especially if you're in the West, capitalist culture, very much, and also just the scientific kind of mechanistic worldview where we're trained to find the right answer. There's one way to do things. We're just machines. You got to put in the right answer, the right math, the right grease of the wheels, and then things are going to work. And if you don't have the right answer, you're kind of punished until you figure it out. There isn't so much of a reverence for the quest and the reverence for not knowing and the reverence for the insight that a child or a fool or someone who isn't an expert can suddenly come in and point at something. It's also thinking of the whole story of the emperor's got no clothes. Everybody who's smart and wise, all these adults, are seeing this emperor with no clothes, and they're all thinking they're crazy or forcing themselves to believe something. And it takes the child who's super innocent and doesn't know that they're supposed to be thinking one way to say, that guy's got no clothes. What are you guys all on about? There's this wisdom in the fool that is really hard to attain when you're so focused on mastery, on getting it right, on showing up with perfection and intelligence. So congrats, this month you don't have to be perfect, and then paradoxically have the seed of a really grand awakening and a really profound wisdom inside you anyway. But you get to take whatever path you want. You're at the beginning of the road. Because this is a major arcana card, major arcanas are often like big, oversweeping, archetypical energy. So this can be you, but in a long-term way. So this also doesn't mean that you're just starting out on the path. You might still be kind of a bit on the fool's journey already. But also this means that many other people might be kind of pulled into this energy as well. So there might be a lot of people that are suddenly like kind of embarking on some sort of new kind of adventure and quest, or new way of knowing and not knowing. There's a kind of, so it's kind of hard to like pin down exactly what it is that this is about for you. A fool's journey can be in anything. It can be, your own personal development, your personal growth. It can be just like starting a new kind of career path or skill set where you're totally new and you're still picking. It could be like having just left an education system or just left a job and wanting to reskill, and you don't know what you're going to do because you're picking new paths. It can be, breaking down or decolonizing old mindsets or cultural programming, and now you're like, now what? Where do I start from here? It could be all of these kinds of things can be happening, and so I can't give you any like specific sort of guidance on what this is about, but how to go about it is that don't panic. The fool also has that like the clear mind, which we often look at, simple people or somebody who's, he's too dumb to realize what's going on. But they're the ones that aren't super stressed out, like all the people who are super smart, but then are overthinking it and always like trapped in the mind. And like sometimes really unwell with worry. The fool is usually the one who's, kind of head in the clouds, and they're uncluttered. One can call them, like, kind of denigrate them and say, oh, they're just really stupid. They just don't really know what's going on. But at the same time, just having a full head doesn't mean you know what's going on. Having a brain full of worry and cynicism and this isn't going to work is not necessarily wisdom, even if there's lots of smarts in there. It can then your thoughts just jam up and you can't actually do anything. Whereas if you're in this kind of fool state where you can kind of just, you don't have to overthink everything. A lot of this is this feeling of the whole panic situation. If you give the fool, and if you give yourself permission to not have to be in control, not have to know it, not have to fix it, that's when, okay, you get to be that child again. They can be chill because they're not the adult. They're not the one who has to be responsible. There's a trust as the fool that you aren't the one in charge. That ultimately responsibility, the weight of the world is not on your shoulders at this point. So you can just go off into the world and do what you need to do. So with this starting in February as Aquarius season, this is kind of an interesting, not quite juxtaposition, but Aquarius season is fixed air energy, and air energy is like thoughts, mental communication, and fixed energy is usually like, it's pretty established, it's pretty solid, not super shakeable, not really wanting to be moved. So this happening, this adventure or invitation to go on kind of the fool's journey of not knowing, in a sign that's very much usually about knowing, that like I've got my firm beliefs, it's kind of like, well, flip it. Fixed air signs, the danger of that is being too rigid on what you believe, of not being okay to like bring in new thoughts and being so like, this is the way things are, kind of like a stale air energy. So this is kind of like, maybe this is a really great season for this fool to come up. to kind of blow the wind away and just say, hey, let's just, this could all be new. This could all be different. Why don't we just look like a fool, like a jester, and poke at all the things that, you know, you may have built a bedrock on of what your beliefs and your thoughts are, and just challenge it to say, is it really like that? Do we really have to be that way? What if things were different? What if we release that a little? And some things, that doesn't mean just to knock over everything that you've believed in and held true, but it's just a kind of testing, a poking. If you can't laugh at something, you kind of wonder what the fear is that demands that there be dignity and no possible making fun. If you can bring the fool and sprinkle that foolish energy on all of your beliefs, and they can hold true and can handle that kind of laughing foolery, then that's probably a healthy thing. It's the things that go, don't make fun of me, that like, there's something a bit shaky there that might need to be looked at. But then towards the end of February, we're rolling into Pisces season, and Pisces is, in a way, it kind of feels like it mixes well with the Fool, because Pisces has this sort of dreamlike quality, this feeling of fantasy, of the realms of the possible, the realms of the mystical, not super needing to be grounded in like the way, like the facts, the peer review, the, you know, the way things have always been done. It's significantly more open to the dreamland. Pisces is ruled by Neptune, the sign of dreams, fantasy, illusion, also deception. So there's that kind of, that where dreams and possibility and imagination kind of blurs into then potentially getting out of touch with reality, not being grounded in truth, kind of being self-deluded, that they do kind of blur together. So it's an interesting thing to work with, because usually how one kind of works with that is like trying to establish discernment. I'm trying to bring discernment into when or the right thing at the right time, like the temperance of when is it a good time to be in a dreaming state, and when is it important to really ground into reality. But the Fool is kind of like, the Fool's kind of there anyway. Like, the Fool is not taking things too seriously, either the dreams or the facts. He's kind of just moving through. So he's not trying to be discerning. He's not trying to be disciplined. It's kind of like he subverts all of that in a way that's really kind of like really hard to kind of describe. So you just kind of, just get to make those experiments where but kind of realizing that just because you might be on the Fool's path, it doesn't mean that everybody around you is, and doesn't mean that they should be. So everybody's kind of on different paths and has different things that are going to help them through this season, especially when we get into Pisces season, where again, lots of dreams, but then there can be this issue of like bypassing what is also real at the time, like especially in issues of like social justice or injustice in the world, where one can be in the dreamer state of, oh, I wish we could all just love each other. Oh, I wish we could get along. Unity is a really important thing. We don't want all this division. That's the end goal of the dream of, yes, what we would all love to embody is a place where we can all be safe and love each other. But we're not there yet, and you can't just dream past the steps that you need to get there. And so if we are at a time where it is a time to draw the line, maybe we do need to, be still defending those that are oppressed, or standing up against voices that would condone violence. All of that is a necessary step to the dream, and you can't just take the dream and smash it on reality and then hope that that's what's happening. And so there might be, towards the end of the month, a lot of energy of some people trying to do that. Especially, it's been intense in the world lately. People are tired, people are upset, people are scared, people are angry and frustrated. And part of this Aquarius season at the beginning of February is people feeling trapped and wanting to get out of that feeling of trappedness, because Aquarius does not like to be trapped. So a lot of people are fighting against this feeling of being trapped. Anybody telling them what to do is making them feel angrier. And what may happen is people then just trying to dream in the future that they want onto the now, and just sort of deluding themselves that because I want it and because that's what would be best, we can just snap our fingers and get there. Dreams have to be built. Dreams have to be manifested. You don't just have them and expect them. So that is an important thing to be aware of in yourself and in other people as well. Just that kind of spiritual bypassing, like, situation that can be kind of irritating. And Scorpio, you kind of have potentially a bit of I don't want to say not quite leadership, but like as a Scorpio energy in general is more comfortable in kind of the darker depths of things, more comfortable with intensity, with volatility, more comfortable knowing that there's shadow in all of us, and that repressing it is just going to make it worse. And so where some people kind of dream into the beauty space because they're uncomfortable with that shadow heaviness, you can kind of come in and step and offer and say, you know what, actually, this is a part of us that's important. No, I don't think that we can just try to hold hands and sing together when there are really dark things that are still present. Like maybe we need to examine those as well. But you also get the opportunity to bring in this Fool kind of quality to it. So not coming in doom and gloom of we gotta face the dark all the time. Scorpio season was fun months ago. We're into other things now, but you can still bring that Scorpionic sort of mastery, and help other people that are maybe afraid of that energy, and just say, hey, like it's all part of it. Like this is part of the process, and it needs to be integrated. Otherwise, it's going to just explode. So, I think that I'm probably going to stop it there. Again, if this didn't feel super direct or super clear, that's kind of the Fool. It's not really up to me to tell you how you're going to work through this month. This is your Fool's journey, and you can change your mind in which direction you want to go as many times as you want. So the only thing I'm going to say is that's you're free to do that. That's kind of the stage you're at. Maybe at some point mastery and more discipline is going to be in the future for you, but at the moment you're free to be a Fool, free to do it all. And yeah, best of luck to you during the month of February.